We come now to the adjournment that we're to move. Thank you. The question is that this House do now adjourn. Mr. John Glen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The first debate I called as the Member of Parliament for Salisbury 5 years ago, on Monday, was on the future of Public Health England's site at Porton Down in my constituency. I did not imagine that the first debate I would call in the new Parliament in 2015 would also be on the future of this critical site. But I can think of no greater issue of significance to my constituency. Porton Down is known across the world for the work that Public Health England and DSTL do there. It would not be right for me to open this debate without first paying tribute to all the work that the staff there have done to tackle Ebola in Sierra Leone in recent months. It has been truly humbling to hear the stories of my constituents who have travelled at great risk and put themselves on the front line of the fight against Ebola. Their expertise has been vital to the people of Sierra Leone and testament to the UK's reputation for excellence in infectious disease research. I welcome the recent decision to award a medal for their commitment and dedication, which I know a number of my constituents will be very pleased to receive. It has now been almost 7 years since the Department of Health authorised Public Health England, then the Health Protection Agency, to develop an outline business case for the refurbishment of the facilities at Porton. This was after the Science and Technology Select Committee found the Category 4 containment labs at Porton to be in need of significant investment given their age. They recommended in 2008 that, I quote, the Department of Health consider the redevelopment of the HPA's Porton Down site as a priority. Project Chrysalis, the proposal for this multi-million-pound redevelopment, was put forward shortly after the committee's report was published. In January 2010, a former GSK site where Public Health England could consolidate its assets in one place was put forward as the preferred option, and a business case was put to the Department of Health just 6 months later. This was, in my opinion, rightly rejected after scrutiny, and further work was commissioned. But not as part of Project Chrysalis. Instead, Public Health England began putting together the case for a science hub programme, which some might argue was a clear signal of their early intention to centralise before the business case work had been concluded. The new outline business case was finalised in July 2014 and recommended that the facilities at Porton, Whitechapel and Colindale should move to a single campus in Harlow. The PHE board asked for a decision to be made by September 2014. I would like to take this opportunity to ask the Minister why, if this outline business case is so rock solid, it has still not been signed off 9 months after Public Health England wanted it to be and 11 months after it was submitted. There are certainly doubts remaining amongst many of my constituents about the decision for a number of reasons. Firstly, co-location in Harlow was recommended as, according to Public Health England's officials, it offers the best value to the taxpayer and delivers the lowest cost over the 60-year life of the programme. But PHE also stated in their publicly disclosed annex that, I quote, the differences in costs between the options are relatively small. Professor George Griffin estimated in his review of the single science hub work in 2012 that the difference amounted to 2.6% over a 68-year period, which I maintain is disputable given the complexities associated with modelling such large sums over such a long period. The resultant cost to the taxpayer may well be marginally smaller, but it is important to remember that the cost to my constituents will not be. The fact remains they are being asked to uproot their lives and simply transplant to Harlow For many of them, Salisbury has been their home for years. This is where their children go to school and where their family responsibilities lie. Increasingly, the trend in science is not to co-locate assets on single sites, but to harness the power of technology to work across larger areas. Centralisation remains an approach the private sector left behind, in many cases, a long time ago, in recognition that smaller, specialist sites can be more effective. And the direction of travel towards greater use of genomics and big data reinforces the argument for smaller entities like Porton to leverage and continue to leverage global partnerships. I was previously told by Public Health England that they favoured the single hub model because of the approach taken at the Crick Institute. But this is not a co-location of one entity's assets, but 6 distinctly different players who all operate across multiple sites themselves and in many ways will continue to do so. Secondly, the unwillingness to grasp the potential opportunities that exist at Porton or fully engage in a conversation about them is so disappointing. Public Health England say that the Harlow campus has the potential to become a campus with an international reputation for public health science. But Porton Down already has an international reputation. It has 250 external partnerships across the world. It is supported by $55 million of investment by the US government. It already partners with more international universities than in the UK, 8 US government agencies, 5 international health bodies, and 9 global pharmaceutical companies. Public Health England has not yet articulated publicly precisely how being in Harlow will improve on this. How many new commercial partnerships do they believe will be generated from this site? What will be the impact on Public Health England's revenue streams? Have these factors even been modelled thoroughly as part of the business case? I have long been concerned that the outline business case focuses too narrowly on Public Health England's objectives as an organisation and the benefits it allegedly accrues from centralisation, not the wider opportunities that exist for UK life science industries. Thirdly, centralising in Harlow flies in the face of the government's agenda to promote more prosperous regional economies. The Chancellor said, the South West, and I quote, the South West contains some of Britain's greatest economic strengths. It should be as central to our nation's future prosperity as any other part of these islands. He went on to say that it already has a strong reputation for life sciences, and even asked the Chief Scientific Advisor and the Chief Medical Officer to explore the potential for new proposals for investment in life sciences in the South West. In light of this ongoing work, please can the Minister assure me that the Chief Scientific Advisor has been consulted about the Single Science Hub, given the implications it will have for the South West. I appreciate that not all of Public Health England will be moving to Harlow, should the business case be approved, and Porton will retain the manufacturing facilities. I also recognise that Public Health England management have given an assurance that they will not be abandoning those that will remain, and they are meeting with Wiltshire Council on Friday to examine how Public Health England can facilitate the optimal exploitation of opportunities that will derive from the new science park that this government has supported right on their doorstep. However, it is not acceptable to assume this is some kind of appropriate consolation for the loss of the remaining facilities and capabilities. And I remain concerned that if the Porton site is cannibalised in this manner, the temptation to examine commercial opportunities for those facilities that remain will be high. Indeed, I understand from a letter that was recently sent by the Minister's colleague, the Minister for Life Sciences, to an interested party on the 10th of June, that Public Health England is, I quote, continuing to investigate commercial opportunities for its activities at Porton. Now, I have long been an advocate for greater capitalisation on the commercial potential at Porton, but I would like assurances that the vaccine manufacturing facilities will be treated with the respect they deserve and not simply sold off to provide a quick win for the government to balance the equation on this matter. This is not just a vaccine factory, and any proposal to maximise its potential needs to recognise its value in the South Wiltshire and regional life science economy. But more importantly, how do these concurrent agendas best serve the interests of my constituents? Can the Minister assure me that individual government departments are not operating on different agendas? It seems to me that any discussions about commercialisation in advance of a decision on the outline business case would be premature and potentially misaligned. Fourthly, the opportunity to consider more effective use of existing public sector assets has still, in my belief, not been fully considered. The DSTL laboratories, located adjacent to the PHE site, has existing synergies with Public Health England, and the two organisations work very closely together. DSTL also has Category 4 containment facilities that were refurbished more recently and are considered to be of the highest standards. Indeed, it has spare capacity in its facilities, and when the size of refurbished labs at the Public Health England site were being discussed, the decision was taken to request a smaller facility on the basis that DSTL would be expected to provide backup capacity in an emergency. Professor George Griffin also told the Science and Technology Committee in 2008 that the Ministry of Defence has a facility at Porton. There is spare capacity there, we know, and we would be able to use it if that was necessary. But I've been told previously that there are conceivable emergency scenarios where both DSTL and PHE would need to occupy the entire space at the same time, resulting in a conflict of interest with severe implications for national security. However, these scenarios have not been fully articulated. They may well be considered above my pay grade, but I would ask the Minister to put on the record that the DSTL collaboration option has been fully explored, examined independently with DSTL management, and the security concerns about the laboratories proved irresolvable. DSTL and PHE have an important collaboration that benefits from their physical proximity. They are treated as the Porton campus by the regulator, enabling pathogenic samples to be transferred between the two sites without the need for additional licensing. Both are licensed for animal work, and I understand PHE manages some of the sensitive resources occasionally used by DSTL. They can currently be safely transported and at minimal risk, but I believe a move to Harlow completely removes this capability. Fifthly, I would once again take the opportunity to emphasise that Porton Down is embedded in the Salisbury community. We support its staff and recognise the sensitive nature of the vital work they carry out. Porton's relatively isolated location makes it an ideal, secure site. Harlow remains untested, and rebuilding the relationship and acceptance of the sensitive work that Public Health England does will take valuable time and effort. And as many of my constituents tell me, it is simply common sense to keep that work where it is, not move it to a more densely populated suburban area. Finally, I would like to reiterate that this is not just a conversation about keeping jobs in my constituency. It is a debate about what is best for our life science industry and the partners that depend on Porton's expertise. I said in my last adjournment debate that my primary concern is that the decision is motivated not by a desire to tidy up different entities within the PHE organisation into a single site, when the advantages of co-location are notional, uncosted and unproven. Until I am permitted to see the full business case, my concerns will remain about the logic that is being used. I appreciate that this is a decision that will have significant implications for our national security, and I've always stressed it is imperative we get it right. However, the Department of Health was informed in 2008 that the Category 4 labs at Porton were built over 50 years ago, and refurbishment and upgrading work is becoming increasingly difficult. In my debate 5 years ago this week, when the then Minister of Public Health, the Right Honourable Member for Guildford, told the House that the site is 60 years old, the building structures are in a poor state of repair and the laboratories clearly do not meet modern safety standards, so something must be done, I believed her. And yet 5 years later, nothing has been done. The facilities are deteriorating, and my constituents have lived in the shadow of this decision for 5 years, not knowing if they will be moving to Harlow, whilst we have had the positive news of a science park which will hopefully open in the next year or so. I will persist in my questioning on this matter because, frankly, some of my questions have just gone unanswered. When I last met with the PHE leadership team in November, I was told by the most senior official that he was the boss and he would decide how any re-examination of Porton's potential would be evaluated. I've heard nothing from him for 6 months. I have a responsibility, nonetheless, to my constituents to seek assurance that the decisions being made that will impact their lives are being made on the basis of a rigorous analysis of the facts. And I would urge the Minister to finally clarify for my constituents, one way or the other, where their future lies. We owe the staff based at Porton Down that much. Thank you.
I call the Minister for Public Health, Jane Ellison.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and I congratulate the honourable member, my honourable friend for Salisbury, for having secured, I think, what is now a hat-trick of debates on this subject, the future of Porton Down, a very important subject, not just to his constituents, but to the whole country, given the work that is done there on a wide range of public health threats, and including the Ebola outbreak in West Africa. And I very much join him in paying tribute to his constituents for their service, both in the UK and on the front line in Sierra Leone. The medals are hugely deserved. I know that he has been a tireless campaigner for his constituents on this matter and on the creation of Porton Science Park, which I will turn to later. Through his campaign, he's shown that passion for growth and jobs creation in his area, which we all admire. Scientists have been doing their invaluable work at Porton Down since the 1950s, as he mentioned. And as he mentioned in previous debates, it's been stressed that these buildings are now more than 60 years old and increasingly becoming unfit for purpose. I know that he agrees with the need to find a solution to this problem. Indeed, that's what he's really just devoted his speech to, and to ensure that this vital work can continue. It is important that scientists have the benefit of state-of-the-art facilities that reflect the latest technological advancements, including the shift from Petri dish to big data. So much has happened in recent years, and so much change is going on. So there's a clear consensus that the status quo is not acceptable and won't enable PHE to deliver the public health scientific expertise that the government and the nation require. Turning to the options. Again, he has run through them for us again this evening, but he knows that Public Health England have looked at a number of options to meet the challenge they face, and they've had to consider a wide range of long and short-listed options, all of which have to demonstrate the best value for money to the taxpayer. The main focus of these options has been on the existing Porton Down site and Colindale sites and the former GlaxoSmithKline facility in Harlow in Essex. Public Health England, as he mentioned, have briefed himself and local MPs, local authorities and other key stakeholders, including consulting the Chief Medical Officer and the Chief Scientific Officer about the 3 sites affected and considered in the option appraisal. As my honourable friend will be aware, PHE have put forward the case that there are significant benefits from bringing together the range of public health science functions that they manage across disparate sites. I accept that he expressed a little scepticism about some of the arguments, but PHE feel that to create an integrated national science hub, rather than re-providing the same facilities on the same sites, would be their ideal. It's for that reason that the PHE outline business case of the preferred option was to create a public health science hub based at Harlow. He asked about what was included in some aspects of the outline business case, and I can confirm that no additional revenues from any relocation have been included in the outline business case, in line with the rules and guidelines on what can be and is included in such cost-benefit analyses. However, it is hoped that new facilities would lead to increased academic and commercial income. As I've already said, it's essential that the proposal taken forward offers the best value for money for the taxpayer while protecting the vital health protection functions carried out by scientists. The scrutiny of the business case has included 2 external reviews organised by the Major Projects Authority, and both have concluded that the business case properly evaluates the options, including options based at Porton. Since our last debate on this topic, I think last September, this review process has continued and the business case has been through a Major Projects Authority gateway process. I can assure him that this has and will continue to be a thorough and robust process and that the outlined business case continues to be scrutinised by ministers at my department, the Treasury and the Cabinet Office. As I've said, PHE have considered a wide range of options, including those that would involve remaining at Porton Down in the outlined business case. I know that alternative third-party proposals have been put forward, including those of the Porton Life Science Group, which were kindly forwarded to ministers, including myself by my honourable friend, and I'd like to assure him that these proposals have also been carefully considered. We do recognise the need for collaboration between Public Health England and their neighbours at Porton, the Defence Science and Technology Laboratories, DSTL, in the interest of national security, and PHE is committed to being collaborative, including having discussions about the use of specialised high containment facilities. But we do need to be clear that although PHE and DSTL will continue to collaborate closely, that public health needs, they need dedicated high containment facilities to ensure that PHE can properly respond to the threats our nation's faced. PHE is the employer of the specialists that are registered to handle human health specimens. The DSTL facilities provide additional resilience, but they were built to meet military requirements. And in addition, PHE's facilities provide resilience to the military if DSTL's facilities are, for any reason, unavailable. Whatever the final decision, national security and capabilities for national response are of paramount importance. It's therefore key for DSTL and all other potential agencies involved in the response to work with PHE to protect the public's health from current and future threats. Public Health England have confirmed that they remain committed to the Porton site, even if it is decided to relocate the Porton research functions and staff. This would involve the PHE facilities that would remain at Porton, consisting of some 300 staff in development and production and regional laboratories. This has continued with PHE spinning out the development and production as a corporate company called Porton Biopharma Limited, which is wholly owned by the Secretary of State for Health. Mr Deputy Speaker, this will allow for Porton Biopharma Limited to take a commercial approach to growing the business. And, I note that my honourable friend has been consistent in supporting that and hasn't in any way spoken against that idea. But that allows more people across the world to benefit from some of the specialist products that they manufacture. I know PHE have briefed my honourable friend on this work on maximising commercial potential of the production facilities at Porton, and he said in his speech that that principle has his support. The work to increase the commercial potential of the production facilities at Porton will of course be closely linked to the Porton Science Park, which I know he's worked very hard to bring to his constituency. Porton Biopharma Limited is next to the new Science Park, and PHE are working closely with Wiltshire County Council on further opportunities in the life sciences sector that this important development could bring to his constituency. He rightly focused much of his remarks on the need to support staff in the most appropriate way, and how unsettling it is for any group of staff to not quite know where their future lies. 1/3 of the posts currently at Porton will remain there even if research functions and staff are relocated. If these functions are relocated, PHE would work with each member of staff at Porton who is working in a post that would move to Harlow under the new proposals to support them in decisions about their personal future. And he's absolutely right to make that paramount, and I take that very seriously. Of course, some staff may want to relocate to Harlow and others may wish to retire or move to other roles outside PHE. And the business case includes support packages for staff that are in line with the government standard. I hope that gives him some assurance. Mr Deputy Speaker, as I've set out, the work conducted at Porton Down is of local, national and international importance. However, there is a consensus that given the ageing facilities that doing nothing is not an option. PHE have looked at a wide range of possibilities for the future of health protection laboratories in the UK and at the benefits of combining various public health functions, and this has led to a preference for the Harlow site at the outlined business case stage. Regardless of the final decision, PHE remain committed to the Porton site, as expressed through the commercialisation of their development and production arm, and this will be closely linked to the Porton Science Park. The outline business case has been through and continues to go through rigorous, thorough and robust scrutiny before a final decision is reached by ministers. I thank my honourable friend for his continued keen scrutiny of this important issue and congratulate him once again on both securing this debate and continuing to be such an ardent champion for the interests both of Porton as a science centre of excellence, but also for his constituents and for their future.
The question is, this House do now adjourn. As many of that opinion say aye. Aye. Of the contrary, no. The ayes have it, the ayes have it. Order, order.